We've got a project here. We're pruning this spiral juniper, and it was purchased in this shape. It's gained some size over the years, but the thing is, this is not a plant that it grows naturally like this. It was shaped as it grew, so we have to keep that shape. Right now, we're just taking care of some of the sprigs that put on growth, like late summer last year into fall. I just left them. So first step, before we get our spring flush of growth, we're gonna take off those, and then we'll wait for it to break dormancy. We're gonna get another real nice flush of growth. Now, if we don't prune them, this is just gonna turn into an upright evergreen. So it does take that maintenance. If you look here too, this plant has actually been in this metal container now for about 4 years. And I overwintered it in a cool garage around 40 degrees. The reason I do that, I don't want to get the winter burning by planting it out. That's always a risk. Also, our root system on a plant is not as hardy as the above ground portion. So we're going to keep it in that 40-degree range. You could let it drop down even cooler into the 20 degrees. It just so happens I keep my garage at 40, so it works well. If you take a look here too on the ground, these little juniper cuttings, they're tricky to get out of a rock bed. So I usually throw down some old sheets. That'll catch the majority of them. Then I might break out my backpack blower and we can clean up the rest after that. But this is a real time saver to drop down those sheets. I'll mention too, it's always a little bit better to take off just a little bit at a time and go over those areas repeatedly rather than trying to bite in and gouge out an area where you might make a mistake. I'm not a real big fan of the automated type. You just can't get the angles that you can with a manual head shears. Also, any type of juniper or pine, you're gonna build up a little bit of that tar, as we call it. So I keep my hand pruners handy, and I'll just scrape that off from time to time. Helps me get a cleaner cut. It's also a good idea to step back and forth. Take a look at it from about 10 feet back. Take a look at the angles. Oftentimes something's going to stick out when you're further back. Ooh, got some rain clouds moving in. This guy's ready for spring though. We'll wait for that flush of growth to happen. Looks good. Before we leave, let's also take a look at this Scotch pine. This is a dwarf Scotch pine that's been trained into this bonsai type effect. We're not ready to do the pruning just yet. We're going to wait for the little candles, the new growth to emerge. And at that point, we're going to take off 1/2 to 2/3 of that candle to try to keep this tight effect. You know, over time, we're going to lose some of this where it's just going to start growing into a bigger ball. We may or may not have to take out one of the cones or one of the balls to try to keep that effect. But for now, it's still working. If we look back about 2 to 3 years ago, when I put this plant in, the first season, man, it burned up. We had a tough winter, a lot of conifers had to be taken out, but this one came back nice and has been doing very well ever since. So we'll revisit this one, and I hope you enjoyed this garden hike. We'll see you again soon.